She deserves it more, honey, Mom said, not even looking up from the pile of fancy cupcakes she was carefully stacking on the big, shiny display stand. Ophelia has always worked harder on her schoolwork. You've always had other interests. Her words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I stood in the kitchen, staring at my medical school diploma hanging on the wall, still shiny and new in its frame. I tried to understand what Mom had just said. Mom, we both graduated with honors. We had the exact same grades, the same hard work, and the same long nights studying. And now she was saying Ophelia deserved more? My voice stayed calm, but my hands were shaking slightly. I don't understand why you and Dad would pay off all of Ophelia's student loans but not mine, I said, trying not to sound too upset. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? Mom finally sighed and looked at me, giving me that same look she always gave when she was slightly disappointed. Your sister doesn't have a wealthy mentor like Dr. Liss to help her future. You've always had advantages that Ophelia didn't. I almost laughed. Dr. Octavia Liss was my research teacher because I worked so hard I practically lived in the lab. 80 hours a week. Ophelia? She was skiing in Aspen with our parents while I stayed behind doing experiments and writing research papers. The advantages my parents were talking about were really just me working my fingers to the bone, while Ophelia got all the love, attention, and money from our parents. So, I'm being punished for finding my own teachers and mentors? I asked, trying not to let my hurt show in my voice. My dad walked into the kitchen and put his arm around Mom. No one's punishing you, Cressida. We're just being practical. Your sister needs more help than you do. You've always been more resourceful. Resourceful. That was the word they used to explain why they never came to my college science fairs or research presentations, but flew across the country to watch Ophelia's volleyball games. Resourceful. That was the word they used to explain why Ophelia got a brand new car for her 21st birthday, while I got a gas station gift card. Tomorrow was Ophelia's big party celebrating her being debt-free. Of course, it was my parents' idea. They had invited cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors, and even some of our old teachers. The invitations said, celebrating Ophelia's achievement, making it sound like finishing medical school without debt was all her idea, not that our parents had made that decision for her. I need to leave now, I said, picking up my bag. I had an early shift at the hospital tomorrow, and I couldn't be late. Will you still come to Ophelia's party? Mom asked. Finally, I could hear worry in her voice. But it wasn't worrying about me. It was worrying about how my absence might make Ophelia feel on her big night. I'll be there, I promised, even though just thinking about it made my stomach twist into knots. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Dr. Liss. Need to speak with you urgently about the Patterson Fellowship. Big news. I stared at the screen, my heart starting to race. Suddenly, it hit me. My parents' favoritism wasn't just unfair, it was about to become something everyone could see. And I couldn't stop it. Ophelia and I, twins, had been on very different paths since the day we were born. I arrived first. She followed 6 minutes later. Family stories said I was quiet and observant, while Ophelia had loud, strong cries that filled the delivery room. Maybe those first 6 minutes had set the pattern for the rest of our lives. Growing up in Cleveland, Ophelia was outgoing. She made friends easily, smiled at everyone, and was amazing at sports. I was quiet and liked to read. I spent hours in the local library, learning about everything from stars to animals, from history to science experiments. Our parents went to every single volleyball game and dance recital of Ophelia's. My science fair victories? A quick good job, Cressida. And a pat on the head. That was it. By high school, the pattern was clear. Our parents seemed to love Ophelia's achievements more than mine. When we both said we wanted to go into medicine, Mom and Dad were thrilled for Ophelia. For me, they worried I might not be strong enough. Medical school isn't just about being smart, Cressida, Dad warned me. It's about determination and grit. Ophelia always pushed herself hard. I too pushed myself, but I did it quietly. The irony was painful. At Ohio State University, I had perfect grades while working part-time to pay for my own things. Ophelia struggled with some classes, so our parents paid for expensive tutors. When she had to retake the MCAT exam, they paid for an exclusive prep course. When I scored in the 98th percentile the first time, they just nodded. That's nice, dear, they said. Even with all that, I never hated Ophelia. She was my sister, my twin, and I loved her. She didn't make our parents treat us differently. She just benefited from it. Sometimes I even thought she felt a little uncomfortable with how obvious our parents' favoritism was, though she never said anything directly. We both got accepted to the same medical school in Michigan. For 4 years, we studied together, helped each other through grueling rotations, and celebrated each other's successes. I thought maybe, finally, our parents would see us as equals. But no, they always found ways to make Ophelia's achievements look bigger while making mine smaller. When I got picked to present research at a national conference, Ophelia got a community service award that same weekend. Guess which event my parents attended? Everything changed during our final year when Dr. Octavia Liss, a famous brain surgeon, noticed my research on children's brain injuries. She became my mentor. Under her guidance, I grew in ways I had never imagined. For the first time, someone really saw my potential, recognized my hard work, and pushed me to excel. "You have a gift for research, Cressida," Dr. Liss said once. "You notice things that others miss. That kind of insight cannot be taught. If only your parents could see you the way I do." The morning before Ophelia's party, I went to Dr. Liss's office. She was a striking woman in her 60s, with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. Her office was full of awards, certificates, and photos with famous doctors from around the world. "Cressida, sit down," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I have extraordinary news." I sat down, my heart beating fast. I had been waiting for weeks to hear about the Patterson Fellowship at Johns Hopkins, the most prestigious research position in the country for new doctors. Only one graduating medical student would be chosen. "The committee has made their decision," Dr. Liss said carefully. I held my breath. "They've selected you," she said, breaking into a broad smile. "Congratulations, Dr. Cressida Vale. You're going to Baltimore." Joy, disbelief, and a sense of validation crashed over me all at once. The Patterson Fellowship was the highest achievement for any neurosurgery researcher. And I had earned it through my own hard work, not because my parents paid for it. I don't know what to say," I stammered. "You earned this, Doctor," Dr. Liss said firmly. "Your research on brain recovery after injury is groundbreaking. The committee especially liked your approach combining surgery and medicine. The fellowship also included loan forgiveness. I would be debt-free just like Ophelia, but through my own merit." "There's more," Dr. Liss continued, her eyes twinkling. "I've been invited to Ophelia's party tonight. Your parents sent me as a guest, not knowing about our mentorship. I'd like to announce the fellowship there, if you're okay with that." My stomach dropped. "I don't know, Dr. Liss. It's supposed to be Ophelia's night. My parents might see it as me trying to steal her spotlight." Dr. Liss's expression became serious. "Cressida, I've seen how your parents treat both of you over the past 2 years. I understand your hesitation, but sometimes achievements need to be recognized publicly to be acknowledged at all. If your parents hear about this privately, they'll downplay it or say it's just luck." She was right. I nodded slowly. "Okay, you can announce it." As I left her office, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ophelia. "Mom's going overboard for tonight. It's embarrassing. I wish she celebrated both of us graduating. See you there, heart." I stared at the message, surprised. Perhaps I had been wrong about Ophelia all along. Perhaps tonight would finally reveal the truths our parents had been avoiding for 26 years. The party was being held at a fancy restaurant in downtown Detroit. My parents had rented the entire rooftop, surely spending thousands of dollars. As I stepped off the elevator, a huge banner greeted me. "Congratulations, Dr. Ophelia," without a single mention that there were 2 doctors in the family. I smoothed my navy blue dress and took a deep breath. It was Ophelia's night, and I didn't want to ruin it. I wouldn't let years of hurt and resentment get in the way. "Cressida." Ophelia spotted me immediately. She broke away from her group of relatives and rushed over, a big smile on her face. She looked so beautiful in her shiny silver party dress. It sparkled under the lights of the terrace. Her blonde hair was the same color as mine, soft and golden, but hers was cut short in a fancy bob. Mine was long, flowing down my back, neat and perfect. I felt a flutter of nerves in my stomach. Even though my heart was racing, I felt happy that she was with me. "Thank goodness you're here," I whispered softly, relieved to have her by my side. Aunt Odessa had already asked me 5 times if I had a boyfriend yet. I tried to laugh, even though my stomach felt full of butterflies. "What did you tell her?" Ophelia asked, giving me a small, playful nudge. I smiled nervously. "I told her I'm married to medicine," I said, trying to be funny. "But if she knows any single brain doctors, I'm taking applications." Ophelia laughed and linked her arm through mine. "Seriously, this is so silly. Mom invited half of the medical school. It's like everyone we've ever studied with is here. I looked around the crowded terrace. There were so many people. Faculty, doctors, classmates, and even the dean, Dean Wilson, was standing there talking to a group of people. They had really gone all out. Too much, actually. I could feel my cheeks getting warm. It was kind of embarrassing. Ophelia leaned closer and whispered in my ear. And why is all this just for me? We both graduated. We both worked really hard. I don't get it. Her words made me feel a little better. Maybe she noticed things more than I had thought. Maybe she understood how unfair it felt. Then our mom appeared, holding a glass of sparkling champagne. She looked radiant in a soft blue dress. Ophelia, the Harlows just arrived, she said. You remember Lucien Harlow, the chief of surgery at Cleveland Memorial? You should go say hello. Mom took Ophelia's arm and led her away, then looked back at me. Cressida, she said. Can you check if the caterers have put out the gluten-free food? Cousin Selah is being picky about her diet again. And just like that, I was left to make sure the food was okay, while Ophelia was being shown off to important hospital people. Some things never changed. I had always been the quiet one, the one who worked hard behind the scenes. Ophelia had always been the one in the spotlight. I was directing the catering staff to put the right food on the right tables when Dr. Liss arrived. She was an elegant woman in a bright red pantsuit. She had a way of commanding attention without even trying. Everyone seemed to notice her immediately. Cressida, she said warmly, hugging me. Are you ready for our big announcement? I'm not sure, I admitted. The timing feels tricky. Dr. Liss looked around the party. There was a big banner with Ophelia's name on it. The cake was decorated professionally, and it had only Ophelia's name on it. There was a slideshow of photos playing on a screen. Ophelia appeared in almost every picture, and I was barely visible in the background. I see, Dr. Liss said softly. This is more complicated than I realized. Across the terrace, I watched my parents introducing Ophelia to Dr. Margaret Wu, the chief brain surgeon at Detroit Medical Center. Both Ophelia and I had applied for residency positions there. My stomach twisted. Were they trying to help Ophelia get a spot because they knew her? My parents spotted Dr. Liss and came over with Ophelia in tow. What an honor to meet you, my father said, smiling broadly. I understand you've done some work with Cressida. Some work? Dr. Liss raised an eyebrow, looking at me carefully. Yes, I said. Cressida has been my primary research partner for the past 2 years. Her work on our brain injury study was very important. She made many key discoveries that helped the study succeed. My parents exchanged glances, and I couldn't tell what they were thinking. How nice, my mother said vaguely, her voice sounding unsure. Ophelia has also been involved in research, my parents said quickly. In fact, Dr. Wu was just saying how impressed she is with Ophelia's application to her program. My face grew hot. Ophelia hadn't done brain surgery research at all. Her focus was psychiatry, which is a completely different field. My parents were misrepresenting her experience, and it could hurt me. I felt a rising sense of anger and frustration. Dr. Liss's expression stayed calm, but I could see a sharp look in her eyes. Really? I thought Ophelia focused on psychiatric applications rather than surgical procedures. An awkward silence fell over our small group. My hope was slipping away. This announcement, meant to celebrate Ophelia, seemed like it was going to make things worse for me, not better. Dinner started soon after. My parents sat at the head table with Ophelia, our grandparents, and Dr. Wu. I was placed at a secondary table with cousins and family friends. I could hear the conversations, but I couldn't join in. It felt unfair, but I stayed quiet. We always knew Ophelia was destined for greatness, my father said to Dr. Wu. Even when the girls were little, Ophelia showed so much determination. She's always been the ambitious one. Each word felt like a tiny dagger in my chest. I pushed my food around my plate, but I wasn't hungry anymore. Nearby, Dr. Liss gave me a sympathetic glance. She seemed to understand exactly how I felt. After dessert, my father stood up and tapped his glass to get everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming to celebrate our daughter Ophelia's remarkable achievement, he said. Medical school is extremely hard, and to finish it debt-free is truly something special. The crowd clapped politely. Ophelia looked uncomfortable. We're so blessed to have been able to support Ophelia throughout her education, my mother added. We always believed in her and knew she would make us proud. I stared at my plate, holding back tears. The words were clear. They had invested in Ophelia, not in both of us. It felt like all my hard work was invisible. Suddenly, Ophelia stood up. I'd like to say something, she said, looking right at me. Her expression was apologetic, but her voice was strong. This celebration feels incomplete, she said. Cressida and I both graduated with the same GPA. We both worked incredibly hard. And honestly, Cressida worked harder because she didn't have the support I had. A hush fell over the crowd. My parents looked shocked. Ophelia continued. I can't accept the recognition that leaves my sister out. It's not right, and it never has been. My throat tightened with emotion. After all these years, Ophelia was publicly acknowledging the truth. It felt both wonderful and heartbreaking. My father recovered quickly, trying to sound cheerful. Of course, we're proud of both our daughters. Cressida has done very well too. But tonight is about celebrating Ophelia being debt-free, which is a special achievement. Ophelia shook her head. That's an achievement you facilitated, not one I earned, she said firmly. The tension in the room was thick. The perfect family image my parents had carefully built was beginning to crack. Dr. List chose that moment to stand. If I may add something, she said, her authoritative voice cutting through the murmurs. This seems like the right time to share some news about Cressida that many of you may not be aware of. My parents exchanged worried glances. Cressida's research on blood vessel regeneration in the brain has earned her the Patterson Fellowship at Johns Hopkins, Dr. Liss announced. The crowd gasped. This fellowship is the most prestigious award offered to a graduating medical student in the country. It comes with full loan forgiveness and a generous stipend. Dr. Liss continued. The selection committee specifically praised Cressida's innovative dual-approach methodology, which she developed mostly independently while balancing a full clinical rotation schedule. I have mentored many promising physicians, but rarely have I encountered the level of dedication and insight that Cressida consistently demonstrates. The room erupted in applause. People were turning in their seats to look at me, smiling and nodding with respect. My parents remained frozen, their expressions a mix of shock and confusion. Their careful story about their daughters was unraveling in front of everyone. Ophelia beamed at me, proud and happy, with no hint of jealousy. My heart felt light for the first time that evening. Dr. Liss wasn't finished. Additionally, I am pleased to announce that I have personally arranged for the remainder of Cressida's medical school loans to be covered through our department's Merit Scholarship Fund. This decision was unanimously approved by the board, recognizing her extraordinary contributions to our research program. I was now debt-free too, and I had earned it. My parents were staring at me, unable to look away. The celebration changed completely. Faculty members who had previously gravitated toward Ophelia were now approaching me, asking questions about my research and congratulating me on the fellowship. Several of my clinical supervisors shared stories about my work with patients that I hadn't even realized they had noticed. Ophelia came to my side, holding a glass of champagne. Congratulations, sis, she said, clinking her glass with mine. The Patterson Fellowship. That's amazing. Why didn't you tell me? I only found out this morning, I said. And I didn't want to take away from your celebration. Ophelia frowned. This ridiculous party was Mom and Dad's idea, not mine. I tried to tell them it was over the top and unfair to you, but you know how they get once they decide something. You did? I asked, surprised. Of course I did, she said, looking hurt. I've always known they treated us differently. I just didn't know how to fix it without making things worse. Before I could respond, Dr. Margaret Wu approached us. Dr. Vale, she said, looking directly at me. I was very impressed by Dr. Liss's account of your research. We should discuss whether you'd consider bringing your work to our neurosurgery department instead of Johns Hopkins. I blinked in surprise. That's very flattering, Doctor. Wow! Ophelia put her arm around me proudly. She already has the Patterson Fellowship, but my sister never does just one amazing thing at a time. I'd bet she'll have another groundbreaking study underway within months of arriving in Baltimore. Dr. Wu smiled. Well, when you've completed the fellowship, keep Detroit in mind. We'd be fortunate to have you, both of you in your respective specialties. After she walked away, I looked at Ophelia with surprise. You didn't have to do that, I said. I know you wanted to stay in Detroit for your residency. I still can, Ophelia said. But I won't let Mom and Dad boss me around or make you miss chances. That's not who I want to be. I don't want us to fight over their favorites anymore. I nodded slowly. Across the room, I saw my parents finally getting up from their table. They moved carefully, slowly, like they were walking on ice. They kept stopping to talk to people who wanted to ask about me. It was clear they were nervous. This was new for them. People usually came to see Ophelia, not me. Here they come, Ophelia whispered. Are you ready? Not really, I admitted. My stomach was tight, and I didn't know what to say. When they reached us, my father tried to look proud. Dr. Liss said very good things about you, he said. The Patterson Fellowship, that's a big honor. Why didn't you tell us you were being considered for this? My mother asked, her voice a little sharp. She looked hurt, but I could also hear blame in her tone. Would it have mattered? I asked quietly. You've made it very clear who you care more about. My parents looked at each other, uncomfortable. That's not fair, Cressida, my father said. We've always supported both of you. Different ways, my mother added quickly. We supported you differently because you had different needs. Ophelia shook her head slowly. Mom, Dad, let's not fight tonight. But we will have a serious talk about this soon. All of us. Not here, not in front of everyone. Later. She gave me a look that said, no more pretending. I nodded. Just then, Dr. Liss came to my side. I felt relieved. She saved me from having to answer my parents. Cressida, the dean wants to talk to you, she said. She wants to feature your fellowship in the alumni magazine. She smiled at my parents, friendly but strong. You must be very proud of your daughters. Especially to see Cressida's hard work being recognized after all she's overcome. The word overcome was quiet, but my parents heard it. They looked embarrassed. Well, my mother said softly, we always knew Cressida was special. But too little too late. The week after the party changed everything. News of my Patterson Fellowship spread in Detroit. Doors that had been closed to me suddenly opened. Professors who had given Ophelia special favors, but ignored me were now sending congratulations. Classmates who barely noticed me in medical school suddenly acted like we were close friends. My parents tried to fix things. They came to my apartment the day after the party with gift bags and big, forced smiles. We thought, my father said, putting a small box on my coffee table, with both of you graduating, we should get something special. Here you go. Inside was a rose gold watch, the same one they gave Ophelia 6 months earlier. It's nice, I said without touching it. A little late, though. My mother flinched. Cressida, we know sometimes you feel left out. But everything we did was because we knew you could handle things on your own. Ophelia needed more help. That's a convenient story, I said calmly. But it doesn't explain why you went to her presentations but skipped mine. Why did you pay for her MCAT classes but told me to use free online lessons? Why did you help her with living costs but told me to take out more loans? You made choices, and you always chose Ophelia. My mother started crying. We love you both equally, she said. Maybe you do, I said. But you haven't treated us the same. And watches or late gifts won't change that. The phone rang. It was Dr. Liss calling about my move to Baltimore. I answered quickly, turning away from my parents' shocked faces. Yes, I can talk about the housing options, I said. Your timing is perfect. 3 weeks later, I stood in my empty apartment. All the boxes were packed, ready for the movers. Ophelia sat on the windowsill, watching me tape the last box of books. I can't believe you're leaving next week, she said. Detroit won't be the same without you. You'll be too busy with residency to notice I'm gone, I teased. But it was partly true. We had been inseparable in medical school, but now our paths were splitting. Mine to Johns Hopkins, hers staying at Detroit Medical. I keep thinking about what Mom and Dad did, Ophelia said. Or didn't do. I used to think I was lucky because they paid more attention to me. But really they were holding me back, making me need their approval. I sat beside her. You didn't do anything wrong, Jess. I didn't do enough either, she said. I should have spoken up sooner. They're upset, you know. Mom keeps crying, thinking you must hate them. Dad tells everyone about his brilliant daughter at Johns Hopkins like he personally funded my research. Let them, I said, surprised at how little it bothered me now. Their approval didn't matter anymore. Dr. Liss had taught me what real support looks like. Someone who pushes you when needed, protects you when needed, and always believes in you without conditions. Someone who sees your potential, even when others don't. So, what happens now? Ophelia asked. With us, I mean. I held her hand. We find our own way forward, without the competition they created between us. We choose our own paths and support each other. Not them. I'd like that, Ophelia said, smiling and squeezing my hand. Dr. Cressida Vale, Patterson Fellow. I felt completely peaceful for the first time in years. The road ahead would be hard, but it was mine to walk my way. I looked around my empty apartment. All the familiar things were packed into boxes. It felt strange but exciting. This was the start of something new. I would meet new people, learn new things, and make my own life. I didn't have to worry about comparing myself to Ophelia anymore. I didn't have to feel less than her. Ophelia leaned against the windowsill, watching the last box. "I'll miss you so much," she said quietly. "I'll miss you too," I said. "But we'll still be close. We'll support each other. That's what matters." We sat together in silence for a while. The city outside was busy and loud, but up here in my apartment, it felt calm. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't have to chase anyone's approval. I didn't have to compete with my sister. I just had to be myself. I thought about Dr. Liss again. She believed in me when my own parents didn't. She pushed me, but she also protected me. That was what real support looked like. And now, I have that in my life. Ophelia smiled at me. "You're going to do amazing things at Johns Hopkins," she said. "And you're going to do amazing things here in Detroit," I said. "We both will." We hugged for a long time. It felt like the first real hug we'd shared in years, without any worry or competition. Just sisterly love. I looked at my packed boxes and felt ready. The future was waiting. It was unknown and a little scary, but it was mine. No one could decide it for me anymore. Not my parents, not anyone else. I could make my own choices, follow my dreams, and support my sister without needing anyone's approval. As I closed the last box, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Real peace. The constant worry about what my parents thought, the quiet ache of being compared to Ophelia, all of it melted away. I could finally focus on what I wanted and who I wanted to become. The path ahead was not going to be easy. Residency was hard. Baltimore would be a new city. New friends, new challenges, new opportunities. But for the first time, I was excited instead of scared. Ophelia and I sat together for a little longer, talking about small things, laughing about silly memories from medical school. It felt normal. It felt good. When the movers arrived, I hugged Ophelia one more time. "Take care of yourself," I said. "You too," she said. "We'll both be okay." And with that, I stepped into a new chapter of my life, knowing that no matter where I went, I had my own strength, my own dreams, and my sister by my side. The past was behind us, and the future was ours to shape.